Hello and welcome to another very exciting, if a little bit silly, stat rep. My name is Tyler Bortel, and I am joined by.
Your boy Lucas Troller.
And today is the day of all days because we've got a little bit of silliness coming up for you here. We had a request in the most recent stat rep of Tunnel Nids versus Chaos Knights. Go check that one out, by the way. It should be linked in the description. Where someone knows that I play Admech and they wanted to see their favorite Admech unit on the table, which in this case is quite an interesting one. And I decided to comply. I just have a little bit of fun here. That unit is, of course, the Kastelan Robots with double power fists. Let's go, man. So we're gonna put those boys on the table today, and we're gonna do a little Rock'em Sock'em Robots action. What are you bringing today, Lucas?
I've just kind of got a default dance Renegade Raiders good stuff build.
Sweet. Well, that should be a little bit of fun. In addition to playing kind of a funny army here, we're also going to see just how funny some of these funny missions are these days. People have been excited that there was a little bit of a change to one of the missions that we didn't really like so much beforehand, which is supply drop. So we're going to have a look today at what new supply drop looks like. And we're also going to have a look at the other new GW board that we hadn't touched previously. This is what, board 7? We did board 8 last time, I think.
That's correct.
Yeah, awesome. So we're going to try a slightly new mission on a new board with some interesting armies, and we'll see what we can do with that. Sweet. Well, let's get right into the list. It's there. Lucas, tell us a little bit about your Renegade Raiders list.
Yeah, so this is a kind of, like I said, very default Renegade Raiders build in my mind. There's so much you can run in this detachment that I kind of even hesitate to call it that, but we'll just go with it for now. So just running some of the good stuff and trying to make all the pieces slot together. We've got Cypher as our warlord. We've got Fabius Bile leading 10 chosen. We've got 2 Lord Discos and Hellstalker, freshly buffed. We'll see how they do in this game. I've got 2 enhancements for them. One has the Despot's Claim to get me CP on a 5-up in my command phase, and the other one is Dread Reaver, so that if he's within 12 inches of your deployment zone, holy, he will get full rolls to hit and wound. I've given these guys the Bale Flamers and the Magma Cutters as well. I've got, for battle line, 2 squads of 10 Cultists and 2 squads of 5 Legionaries, armed with double power weapon and las cannon. I've got 3 Chaos Rhinos. I've got 3 Chaos Bikers. Sarge is armed with a Power Fist, and there's 2 Melta-Guns in the squad. I've got 2 Predator Annihilators. These are the last cannon anti-vehicle variant. I've got those 10 Chosen that I mentioned that are going to roll with Bile this game. 5 Raptors, armed with Power Fist, Plasma Pistol Sergeant, double Plasma Gun on the Legionaries. And then I've got 2 squads of 6 Noise Marines to kind of jointly ride in the cars with the naked Legionaries that I've got as well. So, like I said, kind of a default dance build for the Renegade Raiders here, running a bunch of the good stuff, Predators, Bikers, the Bile Brick, the new freshly buffed Hellstalkers. So we're kind of see if all the pieces can come together to be a combined arms win here.
Very nice. Seems like a lot of fun. Really excited to see what those Lords Discordant can do on the tabletop. Excuse me. Over in the blue corner here, in addition to the casting bots, I also decided that it was a good time to show off some of the new changes to Imperial Knights. I think that Imperial Knights and Chaos Knights are both very strong. We saw how cool the Chaos Knights could be last time. And as an Imperial player of any kind, especially an Admech player, I think you should definitely be considering what it might look like both to play with and against Knights. So we're going to try with today. So we'll get to that in a sec. Detachment-wise, I did seriously consider going to play... what's the name of the detachment?
Datasol?
Robots? No, Datasol is the Datasol Conclave is for the priests. Cohort Cybernetica. I did seriously consider this, and I do understand that in some ways it may be even better for the robots, but without any way to get them to advance and charge, I really don't like playing them with the fists in that detachment, so I decided to stick with Haloscreed. I don't like Haloscreed that much, but we're going to play Haloscreed. It's a very popular detachment for a reason. It does some nice things. It's got some useful tools, and I think it's the best way to get these guys into combat because we can give them +2 move and advance and charge as opposed to just the +2 move we'd get out of Cohort Cybernetica. So we will see how that goes. If you have a better list that uses these, especially if it's in that detachment, drop it in the comments below. I'd love to hear about it. Always curious to learn a little bit more. But yeah, so here's what we got. We've got Baller Serious Cawl. He's positioned up here in the top left. Oh, you know, cool. Standing next to the big scary knight over there. We've got, of course, the Cybernetica Datasmith with the transocular Dyad wafers. This was one of the changes we got in the data slate because the robots just get doctrines now. You don't need to take an enhancement for it. Instead, that enhancement is cheaper and just means that they're always a Haloscreed unit. So you always get whatever the Halo buff is that's up currently. So it's kind of nice. And they always have the keyword for other strats, though most of the strats they don't qualify for. Anyway, we've got a Skatros. He's chilling out over here. I think he's absolutely mandatory in a Haloscreed list. We've got an Enginseer over here, really trying to double and triple down on this robot build. He'll hand out a film of pain and maybe be able to patch up a robot or something. See what we can do. He's a nice little pseudo loan up for 55. 2 squads of infantry, 10 rangers on the home field and 10 Vanguard and Strat Reserve. The 4 casty bots themselves positioned centrally here, ready to either breach through and not breach, but slip through the gap in the walls here and go hit the middle, or run up and reinforce my expansion while being in a very safe position because I cannot let these things get shot at for turns. 3 squads of infiltrators. I've got 5, 5, and 5. Like that. 3 Skorpius Disintegrators, 2 on the table, 1 in Strat Reserves. A Calidus Assassin, who's chilling over here, who I think is absolutely mandatory if you're playing a non-SHC Admech detachment, because you just need the dynamicism of uppy downy. And our big boy today is a Cerastus Knight Atrapos. Man, this guy is sick. Canis Rex, probably the default option for most people. I wanted to try something a little bit different. I've heard a lot of good things about the Atrapos. He's really great into vehicle-heavy matchups, which seem to be pretty popular these days. Other knights. He's a little bit cheaper than Canis, which is nice. And he's got that sweet, sweet 5-up bimble in melee, which means that one-tapping him can be a lot more complicated than it is with Canis. And his output at range is a little bit better, in my opinion. Canis really needs to make melee to get a lot of value, and that's just not something that you can guarantee happens in an Admech detachment. If we were still playing before the nerfs, when a Haloscreed buffs could go on them, and I could give Canis advance and charge, then we'd be cooking with Canis. I'd be all over that. We don't live in that world today. We're playing just a regular old Atrapos with no access to buffs or stratagems or anything. So he is what he is. Sweet. Cool. Like I said earlier, we're playing in mission. I don't remember the letter of this mission, but it's Tipping Point Supply Drop, and we're playing on GW Layout 7. And what's the first thing we got to do today, Lucas?
We got to roll off to see who wins the game. I mean, in what order the objectives disappear.
Yeah. So how did this change? This is a little bit different than it used to be. At least it's not quite as terrible.
Yeah, so previously you rolled for one of the middle objectives to randomly disappear on turn 4, and then again on turn 5, and then the third objective was stayed until the end of the game and was worth a bajillion points. Now that objective that stays until the end of the game is fixed. It's the middle objective. So at least you won't have the stupid scenario of your expansion disappears, then the middle objective disappears, and your opponent wins the game automatically. Now instead we have a different set of roll-offs to determine who wins automatically. But it is unequivocally a step in the right direction.
Yeah, absolutely. So we'll roll to see what the alpha objective is, the one that's going to disappear on turn 4, and it's going to be my expansion. Damn, bummer. Cool. So I'm going to be at a substantial primary disadvantage for the entire game, but it's okay. Maybe I still get to go second and fight for that big pile of points in the middle. That'd be really cool. And also draw you out in the first place because going second is better in almost every circumstance anyway, especially in one where we both have somewhat limited ranges and neither of us are playing super fast angle cutty guns. Yeah, let's see what happens.
Yeah, let's do it. I think another roll-off that really matters for this mission is obviously the go first, go second. Right? If you go first, you can kind of create a little bit of pressure trying to hold your expansion and the center, but ultimately it's just way better to have the control of I can sit back and I know I'm going to have a nice safe 15 unless you do something drastic. And so here, not only is your expansion disappearing first, but also I'm going second. So it's going to be a big hurdle for you to overcome the primary advantage I'm going to build up this game. It's a little bit of a bummer how much those two roll-offs matter pre-game for supply drop.
Yeah. I appreciate that they have removed the ultra terrible case where the 1 in 6 chance that you are going first and have to march all the way to the sea in the bad way. But like, man, it still
Yeah,
sucks.
they've removed the scenario where you get your kneecaps blown out by the gunman and then shot through the head. Now you're just getting immediately shot through the head. You like my analogy?
I mean, it's a little bit violent. I hope we don't get demonetized. But yes, that's going to be that. Um, we decided that we're going to sit on defense here in Conqueror and Protector Doctrine. We're going to use +1 toughness as our buff for the turn because all I need is the buff in places. No one's going to really be moving all that fast. I do draw some good secondaries at least. We grab Extend Battle Lines and Area Denial. Hopefully you don't draw a better version of those same two secondaries in 2 seconds. This is why the Skatros is so good, right? He can run out here or with a Haloscreed buff, get within 3 of the center to do both of those secondaries at once. And then if Lucas comes out later, I can react and move flat 6, get behind the wall. It's going to be pretty cool. This is why I think he's just necessary, because watching that man dance can be such a problem for armies that have low amounts of trash. Lucas has kind of a medium amount, right? He's pretty MSU with a bunch of these 5-man squads and whatnot, but he doesn't exactly have, a 30-point nothing that he can throw at the middle. So that'll be nice. We're just going to stage everybody up over here on our expansion, making sure we don't get shot down this way. Cawl is on the line, but he is lone op because he's got friends within 3, so no big deal. And yeah, not doing a whole lot else. Going to keep staging our infiltrators over here ready to crash. If we try to go stand over here early, we're just going to get shot at. Probably should have just said heck it and deployed here as a hedge against going first to just get an immediate move block off against this Rhino. Because like if it's such a big deal going second, I need some benefits to going first. But there's a lot of new variables at once here, and was trying to be a little bit conservative because man, oh man, does this list not have a lot of stuff in it? Right, this unit of robots is like a 500-point package. I absolutely cannot afford to throw away my very few trash units early on if I want to keep playing Warhammer. So we'll give these boys +1 toughness as a bit of a hedge of defense and move on with our lives. Cool. And yeah, that's turn 1. Very exciting. What are you doing, Lucas?
Yeah, so I try to answer your pretty excellent Extend Battle Lines Area Denial on turn 1 with my own high secondary score. I draw Cleanse and Area Denial myself, so I should be able to push that Skatros off to make sure he's not within 6 of the center point, which should get my own Area Denial. And then with that guy scurrying away, I mean, obviously Tyler doesn't want all my plasma guns tearing that guy in half. My Raptors will go ahead and hop on the center, grab that Area Denial, grab 3 points on Cleanse as well, since, I'll get a Legionary Cleanse at the bottom of the table as well in my expansion. Other than that, it's not going to be a very eventful turn 1. We stick here home field, we do a little bit of staging. We're just trying to prevent Disintegrators from cutting really nasty angles on our hulls and blowing me up. I'm kind of content here with the bottom of turn to not get too crazy. This map is very strange. There's all sorts of. I really like what your staging ruin is quite safe, but it's not exactly. Well, I don't know if I like this. Your staging ruin is quite safe, but you cannot use it to attack your opponent's expansion that well unless you're quite fast. So what I mean is like these rhinos here are in a good position to threaten the center and protect my home, but they're not actually attacking Tyler's expansion that much. And same here, like these robots can go to the center, but it's going to take them multiple turns to get to my expansion, right? So it promotes a little bit of a standoff that we know so well from Layout 7 previously, but at least there are avenues to attack. So I think it's a step in the right direction in terms of how the map plays. And it's a little bit less standoffish. I think
Yeah.
opening up the flanks up here where your Atrapos is. So like, someone that couldn't go through walls can actually attack around this direction and this direction. It is a nice change. I like that quite a bit. But it means that my rhinos, unfortunately, are a little bit hemmed back. I don't want to drive them out into the open where the disintegrators are just going to get value picking them up, and then maybe you can clean up the contents with an advance and charge robot play. I'm kind of content to just sit back for now and do a little bit of somewhat conservative staging.
Yeah, for sure. Makes a lot of sense. Cool. So nice job. There's 10 points for Lucas. Going into top of 2 here. Like Lucas said, this the way that this is set up, especially with this very defensive map, if nothing gets crazy, like I'm just going to lose the game, right? Like there is just literally no path forward that involves me sitting back, playing on my expansion like a normal person, and trying to be tradesy and wait to make something happen a little bit later on. I need to get involved, and I need to get involved immediately. Right, Lucas has way too many resources for me to try to hold off the long game. So we are going to send a little bit here. On any other mission, I would say this is stupidly over aggressive, but over here, we got to do what we got to do. So what that means is we're going to send out our Atrapos here, and he is going to take some shots down this line over here at this Rhino. We also obviously have to clear these idiots, so we'll point a bunch of things at them. And then he's going to basically stand there, right? Like Lucas said, there's no way in one turn to get all the way down here if I don't have access to something that moves faster than, what is he, 12 or 14?
12, I believe.
Yeah, he's moved 12.
That is certainly one reason to run him over Canis, is those extra 2 inches, and also that depending on what the height of the ruins that you play on in your local, right? He is like 40% taller than a Custodes class knight.
Yeah,
That can matter if it's the difference between I can see over a wall and I can't, and also I can touch that piece of terrain versus I can't with towering.
Yeah,
That's compelling.
absolutely. He's a big boy. He's definitely seen over all the ruins that we've got here today. Right? Y'all can't see the 3D nature of it. The thing that I don't like about this terrain setup is this gap between the walls here that really makes staging behind this point kind of impossible.
Yes.
Right? Like it's just if your opponent has anything guns that move faster come out of strat reserve, like you're just getting shot along this angle right here.
Yes.
Which is just not pleasant, right? Like normally I would stage a bunch of infiltrators right here so that this friend could stay and we could heroic this way, or so that when he jumps back, we could similarly be ready to get involved or counterpounce with something. But like, there's just not a thing to do.
You can't
there.
even safely be in the opposite corner because this angle also exists.
Yeah, that's very real. It's
So,
funky.
yeah, that piece of terrain is not really safe if your opponent has any kind of guns, unfortunately.
Yeah. It just it's very standoffish. All right, so we're coming in. We're gonna drop our Calidus in here. Calidus placement is like I could talk for weeks about Calidus placement. It's such a nuanced and complicated thing to do because you need to be preparing for where you need that Vectora next turn as much as where you need it for right now and how much utility you can get out of her while keeping her safe. So she's here such that her 12 fully wraps up our knight and hits the unit that I was going after over here to avoid any funny business, while simultaneously being in a really awkward spot where if Lucas wants to come and charge her, he's immediately getting slammed by the bots, right? I don't mind trading her for a bot slingshot charge and something else, particularly because it means he's also not going after the much higher threat targets up here. If Lucas wants to full send and get everybody out of the boxes, that's fine. That's the kind of crazy that I need. So she's in a really good spot there. We do clear those boys away. Our Disintegrator walks in over here and tries to start removing some of Lucas's longer range anti-tank. I know that especially when my guys are T11, they can be -1 to hit in melee. They have a 2-up save. A lot of Lucas's melee is going to struggle to remove those tanks, but those last as cannon Predators are just anything can happen. So I had an opportunity here to cut a long range bead. I thought I'd give it a go. Didn't work out. I think we do like literally 0 damage to that Predator. But that's kind of again, these are not measured plays. These are aggressive plays in order to try to get back in the game. I do see also up here that you've ingressed your other disco who had started off the board. What's the thought process putting that guy so far back? What's going on there?
Well, like you always say, you always want to ingress on your backboard edge. No, really, I don't want your kind of concerted push along the top here to go unpunished. My home objective isn't worth very much, but if you're just gonna go completely unchecked over there, eventually you might get like behind enemy lines. You might sneak some of those infiltrators or call back there, go for some advanced charge plays to storm my home objective. I don't want sabotage to become a thing back there with that knight in a couple turns. I want to kind of deal with that problem before it gets out of control. So, that Disco Lord is my guy with reroll hits and wounds if he's close to your deployment zone, which he won't be this game because he's stuck along the top edge there. But he's still got Lance. He's still pretty good in combat, so he's going to go in there and try to do some damage to that Disintegrator. With his Melta-Guns and his AP3 and also the Disco Lord Mortals, it's actually going to be pretty likely for him to do some real damage to that Disintegrator. And, like you say, my melee isn't necessarily the best into that guy because he has that 2-up armor save. So getting some of those mortals and getting those meltas on that guy will be quite nice. So that's the thought there.
He does not have a 2-up armor save. Oh,
Your
sorry.
Disintegrator.
The disintegrator. Yeah, sorry. I'm fucking. Anyway, I haven't had my coffee yet, but yeah, absolutely sweet. I see these noise boys getting out here, punishing a horrific mistake on my part that I did not process at the time. My default is always have Cawl touching the objective because he's a lone op and he's just going to be in a great spot. He's really hard to kill and he just kind of removes any chance that anything happens. And he's a beast anyway. He's a lone op and he's really tough. And he's T8, 2 up, 4 up, 10 wounds. Like he's fine. I don't have to worry about him. What are you gonna do about that, Lucas?
You fool! You existed in the same zip code as the Noise Marines. Incredible.
Nonsense, dude. Oh,
yeah, it's pretty silly. So this is one of the combos with Noise Marines, right? Is if you're on the objective and you're a high value target, the Noise Marines will get out and bump their kind of moderate AP to a pretty significant degree because of the Renegade Raider rule, and then you're going to 1 CP real hits and wounds and get torn in half. So here the noisy boys are going to get out and use that strat coming out of that Rhino to just light Cawl up and blast them off the face of the earth, which is going to be really sweet. There's kind of a nice pocket where I'm not actually getting Calidus in that spot, but also I'm within 12 of Cawl because of his nice lengthy base. So I should be able to light that guy up, and then hopefully I should be a little bit sequestered away behind the corner there where I won't get retaliated against by your whole army. I mean, obviously that's kind of pending the survival / death of the knight and or the disintegrator, but there's a chance a couple of those noise marines might survive. So we'll see what we can do.
So,
we can,
and so what is the combo there? What makes them so good at killing things on objectives?
So the Renegade Raiders subfaction rule is +1 AP against targets on objectives. The Noise Marines natively ignore cover. And then you spend a CP when disembarking from a transport and targeting a unit on an objective to reroll hits and wounds. And that's a strat you can use in either the fight phase or the shooting phase. So that makes Noise Marines really, really effective shooting. You know, they're already a good unit, if a little bit unreliable. If you give them reroll hits, reroll wounds, +1 AP, they become utterly disgusting. Yeah, so that's why they're so good in this attachment.
Nice.
Oh, sorry. They also have assault weapons. Forget that about Renegade Raiders. Yeah, they're really freaking good in this attachment. So we're coming out here. At this point, you've kind of put your proverbial whatever on the line, and we're gonna have to not let that go unpunished. So the Chosen here with Bile are getting out. They're joining the red Disco Lord toward the center of the table. That's my Despot's Claim guy. He hasn't gotten any CP yet, so he's about to go to his death like a champion. And so we're kind of converging on the tanks that are on the top side of the table here to see what kind of damage we can do. And along the bottom, I've actually paired up my Predators here. I see a lot of people splitting up their Predators and cross-scoring them. I think that's a great way to do some amount of damage to a tank on the opposite corner of the field from your opponent. What I really think the value of the Predator is 2 of them shoot 1 tank, not 1 of them cross-scored into 2 different tanks. The Predator Annihilator, unfortunately, doesn't reroll hits or wounds. It's just damage. So you have to pass through 2, like, hitting / wounding on 3s breakpoints to get to the spot where you actually get to do the damage rerolls. And so they're a very unreliable piece. That's why they're so cheap. So you really kind of need to have them operate in pairs, and we can see here, you did pop smoke, which my army freaking hates, but it did require both Predator Annihilators and the Noise Marines inside this car to finish off that Disintegrator. But that is a big blow, as it's going to really open up this bottom side of the table here. You're going to have some move blocks, you're going to have some harassment tools in the form of these Infiltrator teams. But in terms of like actual damage dealers that can crack a Rhino or just go in and like deal with one of those Predators, that's kind of just completely dropped off the face of the earth at this point, which is going to be a really big boon for me going forward.
Yeah, the threat saturation here is absolutely not happening. I kept these robots back really just for the bit, frankly, so that we could definitely get to see them in action the following turn. But they should probably, by all reasonable definitions, also be standing out here on the edge of this objective, demanding that Bile come deal with them instead, and trying to actually get some overwhelm going on here. as it stands, Lucas is able to partition out basically all of his damage pretty safely into various places without a ton of recourse. They'll be able to come up here next turn, but like this would just be a much more forcing maneuver to make things a little bit more complicated. I just wanted to make sure that we could see them in action, so we held them back. But in hindsight, definitely sent them forward. They tragically can't react to moving this detachment. If GW wants to actually buff this data sheet as much as they claim to, just let them use the stratagem, please. Like they have the infantry keyword, except that their character loses the infantry keyword when he joins them, so they don't, so they can't use it. They would be so cool with reactive 6. I would actually play them. But anyway. So yeah, sure enough, Cawl gets evaporated. What a disaster. Which is really bad because it also means that I'm losing out on my -1 to hit in melee on my disintegrator here because he was being battle lined to hand that out, which is tough. And he also just is a great brawling piece. Like he would love to go get involved with all of this right now. Slam his melta-gun into a what's it called? Into a disco and then go just chop down a whole unit of noise brains. He can do that, no problem. But we will have to make do without. Looks like we're charging in with absolutely everybody. How's this fight phase going?
Pretty decent. You got a lot of wounds and high toughness, and that's not really something that Renegade Raiders usually can deal with very well. I mean, obviously we have lethal pacts, but given you're not on the objectives here, we're just kind of swinging at you with the bare bones profiles, which is not fantastic. Admittedly, the Chosen are actually strength 6, which matters quite a bit now into your toughness 11. And their AP2 is perfectly putting you on the invuln. So I'm not going to pretend it's going to do no damage, but it also is not probably going to flat line a 28 wound knight by itself. I do make a pretty serious mistake here. I don't swing with the Disco Lord first. Your offense on that Atrapos actually lines up pretty well at just kind of icing a Disco Lord if you want to interrupt here. And it's also not bad to Chosen, like flat 4 damage. But the thing with Bile is he has the blank. He has the 1 attendant rat that's going to eat one of those. So on average, you're probably only going to spend 2 CP to kill the 2 bolter Chosen. I just don't really care about that. Whereas a 2 CP investment doesn't guarantee you a kill on the Disco Lord, but it certainly could. And in this case, it does, which means I lose out on my kill on that Atrapos, which is a pretty big tempo swing down on this refutation of the push that you've got going on at the top of the table here. It's not going to immediately cost me any points, but it is going to cost me some material in the upcoming turn or two.
Definitely. Yeah, his melee is real funny. He's very good at killing 2 wound bodies and very good at swinging into vehicles and whatnot. He's 3 wound heavy infantry, not really what he wants to do. This is definitely a job that Canis would have been better at. Yeah, so we will try to crack back. What were your secondaries that turn, Lucas? Looks like you had assassination behind. God damn it. You got 5 points for killing Cawl. That's so disrespectful. Oh, gosh. Great. My secondaries in turn 2 will bring it down and behind, which is why whiffing into this Rhino over here was such a very upsetting thing to have happen, that we're just not getting there. There was a world where my Calidus could have come down and grab behind, and that world was never happening. She is providing way too much value up top where she is. So we're going to head out some Haloscreed buffs. We're going to give out +2 move to a couple things. We're going to give advance and charge to our robots. We are in Conqueror protocol here, and we are putting the robots into Conqueror protocol as well. So they are +2 attacks with their melee weapons. So they go from 4 attacks to 6 attacks with those fists. Their +1 weapon skill, so they're from hitting on 4s down to hitting on 3s. And they are strength 12, AP2, AP3 if there's battle line nearby. 3 damage twin linked. So you want a Chosen killing machine? I got one for you. We spend the
AP3 damage 3 is deeply, deeply funny.
It is.
So hold on. Correct me if I'm wrong. Yep. Did you say that they are in both the Conqueror protocol and the Conqueror protocol?
Yeah, I think they're both in Conqueror and Conqueror. I don't think their thing is called a protocol. Their thing is called, I gotta look at the Datasmith data sheet. No, it's not. It's definitely in this one, isn't it? On their data sheet. What the heck? Where is it? Is it in the freaking Datasmith data sheet? Yeah, it is. Yeah. No, they're both called Conqueror Protocol. They're in Conqueror Protocol, Conqueror Protocol. Cool, dude. Thanks, GW. I mean, we talk about not running out of names for things, but I swear to God, Conqueror Protocol, there were other words available. Anyway, now the other reason I'm very mad that you killed that you sunk my battleship and killed Cawl is that he was supposed to be the one giving them the battle line buff so that they can get that +1 AP in melee, which would have meant that the Vanguard can come play around on this objective over here, preferably off an ingress bottom 3, because the problem with this matchup is that you have you're so far away with Legionaries behind a Rhino. Like, I cannot take that objective away from you. Period. Like, infiltrators just don't do it. So I need my Vanguard to go do that. And if my Vanguard don't get to run ingressing top or ingressing bottom 3 to get their top 4 to keep you from scoring an 8, like that was my only plan to keep the primary relatively equal here. And with Cawl dead, that's out the window, which is a massive, massive bummer, right? If this thing is alive and Cawl is alive, we're in business, right? We're still getting to hold this down. We're able to do good damage here. Then when with this a little bit out of the way, I can safely ingress back here, right? I'm not nearly as scared. I could run it like none of that's happening. So we're gonna move on to see what we can do with our Vanguard up top here. Our infiltrators do head out. We do fall back with this tank. Unfortunately, it battle shocks. I really didn't have the CP because I also needed the CP for this advance and charge, and I'm trying to hold on to some for rerolls in combat, which meant that I can't let this tank fall back, shoot, and charge, which is like the main reason to play Haloscreed is access to fall back and shoot. It's so good, but we don't have it because I'm battle shocked, so we weren't able to auto pass. I also there's probably gonna be a better auto pass later, but real bummer for him. Hopefully we have enough damage out here. It seems like it's gonna be really tight. I've got this tank shooting down this way. Or is it? I think the Atrapos pops the second disco in shooting.
No,
Maybe
it was the tank.
Of the two. It was the tank.
It was the tank.
Yeah. So my disintegrator rips open that disco, who is not a vehicle, despite the fact that he's a vehicle.
Exactly. It's worth mentioning that, remember, these disco lords are basically big bikers. So you can't shoot them in combat. You can shoot into your own combat if you're a vehicle, but you can't shoot into them even though they look like a Rhino equivalent. They're a massive biker. So they kind of break all those rules in that way, right? They also they synergize really well with these hull heavy Renegade Raider builds because Rhinos can move over them and they can move over Rhinos, which just makes no sense, but that's how it works.
At the very least, give this thing the monster keyword. It's so clearly a something.
No.
Anyway, so all right, so we're going in. We're slamming in our robots up here. We hit a big advance. We hit a big charge. Great. Go get them, boys. We did shoot these down. We shot down some of the Noise Marines, so they've been reduced a little bit here, and we will see what we can do. Now, we do, of course, with our battle line over here, we slam in our Infiltrators first. Infiltrators within 6 of battle line at the start of the fight phase cause a battle shock at -2 on Bile, and that bitch fails. Let's go. So no AOC for you. No threats of any kind. The robots, let's cock back 24 attacks on 3s, reroll 1s on 2s, reroll 1s, 6 up saves or death. Bah, 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 bah. Boom! We kill the whole freaking unit. Let's go. And we kill Bile the first time too. This is him having stood back up. We didn't kill Bile twice. That's the thing that you can do, but we do as well as we can. But awesome stuff there. Great job, robots. They got to do the thing finally. Bah, 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 bah. And then this was actually, honestly, even funnier to me, was that I was able to get one measly infiltrator in to tag these Noise Marines, and with his 3 attacks, he rolls 2 6s and gets 5 hits. He's strength 6, so he wounds on 3s, and he's AP 1 because we're on Conqueror with friends nearby.
So how did that happen?
And kills both Noise Marines. Let's go.
You have 3 attacks. I have 4 wounds.
Infiltrator strong. Oh my gosh. What a chat. I was hoping to I was hoping to just tag them and be like, you can't fall back in advance. Can you fall back and shoot at all with this attachment? You could just use the funny stratagem.
Asterisk, yes.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, just try to tax your resources a little bit here, maybe do a little bit of damage. But yeah, got him. Awesome, sweet. Not tragically. Fortunately, well, I guess I don't know. Whatever the case may be, Bile was not within an inch of the knight here, so the knight is not activating at all. Bile will get to run amok a little bit, but great turn in terms of damage, and decent turn in terms of secondaries as well, as we are able to get a 5 on cleanse. We unfortunately cannot get Storm Hostile. That's just not a thing that's possible because you weren't on the middle. Damn. Yeah, so we will grab 5 points of cleanse from here and from back here. Thank you, Calidus. This is one of the big reasons that I love this attachment sometimes, is that +2 move meant that these guys can go 10 and come all the way up here and all the way down there, and both move block this Rhino from getting through into my backfield and simultaneously grab the point here. So feeling pretty good about that. But yeah, now my expansion objective disappears and I'm sad. What are we doing top of or bottom of 3, Lucas?
Well, we're going to drop Bring It Down and Marked for Death. You do have 3 safe marks, which is kind of nice, but I am going to mark that 3 wound Atrapos. He's kind of prime target number 1 for Annihilation regardless. So we're going to put him down and get 2 points out of it, and then that'll be my 4 and Bring It Down as well. So what we're just measuring here is kind of planning our Rhino movement at the bottom of the table here. I've still got Noise Marines, which are going to be a nice bastion of strength in this bottom Rhino down here. And you can see last turn I was actually being and this is something I want to highlight with the power of Renegade Raiders. My favorite combo in the detachment is a Rhino with 5 Naked Noise Marines and 6 Legionaries. Or sorry, yeah, 6 Noise Marines and 5 Naked Legionaries in it. This combo is relatively cheap, very flexible, and hard to pin down. Because of the Renegade Raiders move, it is basically impossible to wrap or trap a squad of Noise Marines inside of a Rhino, because it can 1 CP fall back 12 at the end of the fight phase. That's a ridiculous stratagem. It exists in the game. And you really want to try to use that as much as possible when you're playing Renegade Raiders, especially if you have Noise Marines in your Rhinos, because you get so much value out of disembarking out of there, shooting onto an objective with 4 rolls to hit and wound. You want to break yourself out of combat. So I was being very reckless at the bottom of the table with my Rhino there, because I knew I had a Legionary Heroic in case the Infiltrators got frisky. I could 1 CP get that Rhino out of combat if I absolutely needed to. Although actually the Infiltrators Battle Shock might make that. Is that for all units or just infantry?
All units. Yeah,
okay.
Everything. No restrictions.
Interesting. Hadn't thought about that, so glad I didn't get punished. But against a normal type of unit that might want to otherwise wrap a Rhino, Renegade Raiders is pretty resilient to that. We've also got our Strat Reserve Cultists coming in here. They're just going to kind of set up on my expansion to sticky it and maybe make their way toward the center at the end of the game to lend some OC. I also haven't drawn that many actions other than Cleanse, so they might be able to do some actions there toward the end of the game here. And our Predators are just pushing forward, putting their OC3 on the objective and lending their fire to the now Toughness 11 Big Knight with those last cannons. Still 6 shots hitting on 3s, running on 3s. Not fantastic, but we do manage to get 1 through and put down the Big Knight, which is fantastic. So that earns us 6 points on secondaries. And here, Tyler's expansion objective is just about to go away this turn. So we're about to see just how stupid supply drop really is, even with the changes, which, yes, are a step in the right direction. But yeah, he's going to have to kind of run at me Hail Mary here to try to make something happen this game, because I'm already in the lead. And now he's about to stop scoring primary while I'm going to get more for free. Yippee!
Alrighty, well, we'll see what we can do here. We've got a decent amount of resources still on the table, right? We haven't been blown away too hard yet. We've still got 2 tanks. We've got our robots. As long as the robots are alive, the dream is alive, right? All we got to do is march down to the middle, beat everything to death, and then just tank a full turn of Lucas throwing his entire army at me. I don't see the problem here at all. 2 turns. Sorry, it's top of turn 4. Fuck. Okay. We'll see what we can do about that. The pacing of supply drop is always a little bit tricky. Fortunately, we are Tonka tough. Like we kind of just took those Predators to the face and nothing happened, which was pretty excellent. So we'll see how that goes. We probably do flip into Aegis Protocol. I'll hear and give them another +1 toughness, I think is what happens. This is like the other, like I said, this detachment is way more fun than the cohort it is for the robots. While the cohort, I think, has some really interesting builds that don't include the robots in them at all, actually. It's just a really cool suite of rules and stratagems for vehicles. A lot of like solo vehicles, doom crawlers, solo last chickens, that kind of thing. This is way more fun for robots because this could throw us to T11, which is silly. They are very, very durable. Unfortunately, while they are T11, they are 2-up save. They're only a 5-up invuln, so like you don't have AOC access. So like if someone has like AP3 or ignores cover, or AP, or you're just not in cover because you're going to be in the middle of the board on an objective or something, like, the durability is not there for the points. But we're going to try. Yeah, oh man, we stick with moving? We stick with moving, advance, and charge. Hell yeah, dude! This seems so necessary to go punch this Rhino. I guess the thought is I need to kill the Rhino in shooting and then charge its contents. What's inside that Rhino?
It's the 4 Legionaries that have tenaciously hung on to my expansion.
God, those idiots! Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I really need to be removing as many resources per turn of Lucas as possible here if I'm going to mitigate the damage that I can take in response. So the idea here is we're going to blitz up as fast as we can. We do draw some reasonable secondaries. Because here we grab, what do we grab? We grab Establish Locust and Secure No Man's Land. Locust kind of blows because my Calidus is... Where is my Calidus? Is she dead? I don't think so.
How on God's green earth did you not score No Man's Land this turn?
We'll get there. Oh, my Calidus is going to drop in and do Locust. She's going to drop in right here. I don't think she ended up fitting back here, is what happens. It really looks like she should, but she must not. Or maybe I just really want her to be involved in the longer game. But yeah, we're going to run in. We're going to shoot this tank down. We're going to charge Cypher and the guys as they get out. We're going to beat them to death. We're going to console back onto the center. That's the plan. I don't think it's a particularly ambitious plan. These guys just killed 10 Chosen and Bile. Surely they can kill 4 idiot Marines and Cypher. Shouldn't be that complicated. The Enginseer, by the way, I should talk about him a little bit. Positioning this thing is really hard because he has his buffs in the command phase, and he doesn't really charge much. And like you're not giving him advanced charge as well. So you really need him to be like leading the unit, like not leading, but like standing in front of it, right? Like I deployed here with him back here. He needs to be deployed here so that he can run up here based on where they're going to be later on. You have to see like 2.5 turns ahead of where these robots are going to want to be so you can be in the right place to hit them with that command phase buff. Because without it, their durability falls off. They lose the 5-up Filno Pen on a robot, and they lose the ability to heal. So like things get sketchy. If that ability were shifted to end of movement phase, like most of them are, that would be very convenient. But here we are. So we will see what we can do about all of this. We're blitzing forward as much as we can. We got movement on lots of units to run forward, cut lots of angles. We sure enough blow that Rhino to hell. Great. Our Vanguard here are making a play toward the middle, and our tank up here is just going to grit and bear it because these there's no objective for him to be on anymore. So these Legionnaires are not actually that good at killing him, and he would much rather get shots off. He did fail his battle shock again. So still no fall back and shoot for him. That's fine. But yeah, the boys hop out. We're going to go for some stuff. We don't need this Rhino circled anymore. And we'll see what we can do. We do fire some flamers at Cypher, which gets a little bit of damage. I forgot that Cypher has that stupid rule where he shoots back, though. Stupid mistake. There was, to be clear, a very real chance that the flamers just outright kill him. So I kind of stand by the play, right? Because it is 46 shots at 6x21. Ignores cover, like that can get some serious work done into this friend. Averaging what, like 14 hits, 9 wounds. Wounds you have a 5-up save, like that kills you on math.
He's a 4-up invuln, for what it's worth.
He's a 4-up invuln. Okay, so it's coin flippy at the very end there, but it's very close and would be very nice, especially because this charge was not trivial. But sure enough, he ends up killing one of my robots on the shoot back. That's a 90-point bot out of there. So we throw 2 of the bots into the Legionnaires and 1 of the bots and the Datasmith into Cypher. We blow Cypher to the moon and somehow only kill 1 Legionnaire. I don't know what happened here. This is 12 attacks on 3s into 2s, re-rolling into 5s.
Maybe you whiffed on the hit roll? Maybe you didn't put 2 bots into them? I don't know.
I got nothing. Whatever the case, very silly, very massive bummer because it means we're not getting back, which admittedly means we are slightly harder to damage, but we're also standing on the terrain. So actually, never mind. But it means that we don't have our pile of OC on the center. We're not able to get secure no man's land, which is just awkward in general because we were never getting over here. Oh, it's bad. Things are going to fall apart real fast now. We got our 2 points in looks. We call it a day. We'll hand you 8 points on primary. What are you going to do about it, Lucas?
Yeah, at this point we are quite far ahead, and all we really need to do here, given that you're not on the middle objective, is just kind of deal some damage to these bots and prep for, blitzing the middle objective on bottom of 5 here in my following turn with a bunch of OC. You did tempt me with the target of the middle objective here because that was one of the secondaries I drew. Unfortunately, the only thing I could really use to get there was those OC2 bikers that I was really hoping to have for that last turn. Having those guys be a super cheap OC6 is pretty nice, especially because they have grenades, they have meltaguns. In a late game scrap, they're actually pretty good in combat. Something I learned, they have +1 strength on the charge. That was something I did not know that they had. That's their datasheet rule. Did not know that was a thing until like 3 days ago. They're just good scrappy fighters. So I'm not thrilled about throwing them away here, but we will do it because tempting target is tempting target. So there they go. And then we can see the last unit of Noise Marines here getting out. They're going to let a rip into the Casti bots. Unfortunately, with toughness 10, that kind of puts a damper on both the Blastmasters and the Sonics. So I'm not expecting that your unit to get like ripped in half, but between a grenade and 6 las cannon shots and some shelling from the Noise Marines, I'm hoping to kill 1 or 2 of those here. And forgot those Legionaries were in that Rhino toward the end of the game. Anyway, hilarious. Yeah, and elsewhere we're just kind of scrapping, throwing down. We're hoping to get rid of that very wounded Disintegrator that's at the top of the table here, and that's going to be achieved through some combination of Bile charging in, trying to do some damage, something he's not very great at doing, and the Rhino potentially tank shocking as well if if worst comes to worst. Yeah. Again, these Predators have been, man, I don't know how to feel about Predators. On the one hand, they have stuck around and shot for 3 or 4 turns, and while your opponent is dealing with the amalgam of MSU that Renegade Raiders can throw at you pretty fast, it's nice to kind of accrue some value continually with the Predators, but I don't know that they accrue value continually. Right? They're very inconsistent, and it ultimately is almost 300 points of I shoot 6 shots, hitting on 3s, winning on 3s. Oops, I did nothing for 1 turn. Oops, I did nothing again. Like, that is just an experience that I've continually had with Predators, and the more and more I play them, I don't know. Maybe I need to run the Destructor variant again, but I just keep, even into the new T11 prevalence in the meta, I feel like they're just so prone to, like, shitting the bed, unfortunately. Maybe I need to be looking for opportunities to use them to shoot at a target that's marked by the Disco Lord's reroll 1s to wound, because that gives you a decent amount of decent opportunity to dodge the failed wound step. But I don't know, man. They're just a little awkward. So I'll keep working on it, but they're definitely a piece that might continue to be useful. We'll see. But yeah, feeling good about this game overall at this point. We have a lot. We have a massive primary advantage at this point. It's something like 10 to 23 or something like that. So hoping to just close out strong here. What are we looking at going into turn 5, Tyler?
It's 10 to 18. You didn't score.
I didn't get an extra 5.
No,
10 to 18.
Yeah.
Yeah, fair enough.
But yeah, absolutely. Very nice. Yeah. Yeah. So we're gonna do what we can here. We're just gonna clump up in the middle. We did get a challenger card last turn, by the way, which we did with, it was one of those actions away from your friends. We did that on the home field. Our secondary card this turn is being your opponent's DZ. That's literally impossible. So that's not our secondary card, challenger card. There we go. We draw engage, tempting, and display. Display is impossible, so we chuck that. We draw tempting and display. We chuck display. We grab engage instead. Engage, hilariously, also very hard because I need everything that I have I possibly can within 6 inches of the center of the board right now. So that's just not real. Could I, in theory, run these friends over here and these friends stay back and score 2 points on engage? Totally. Does that change the outcome of the game? Not remotely. I think that I have to do what I can here to throw this Hail Mary to prevent the 15 if at all possible. We're just going to try. It's not going to work. But yeah, so we'll run into the middle. As you can see, 3 of my robots have now died. So this one little man is going to do what he can. We do boost him all the way up to toughness 11. We boost our tank up to E10 or T11. We boost our boys up to T4. And they're handing out -1 to be hit melee. We're gonna see what we can get done here. Was really hoping to be able to take out one of these predators, but once again, just completely unable to do so. We will charge into the bikes with everybody, and the robot and his power fist boy will beat them to death. Very nice. And we're just gonna hold on to our hats. Come crash.
Will do. You're finally on an objective.
Ooh.
Army rule online, boys.
I will say, I was very careful here to keep these guys off of the point to avoid proccing the army roll until they can potentially either react to move if you try to be cheeky or heroic if you come straight in. Doesn't matter, but we try out here.
Yeah. Unfortunately, these 2 Rhinos that are left just have a pile of bolt gun shots that even though you're T4 and have a non-zero save, it's just going to chip away the squad. And here, this was actually kind of cool. I do use SCP on the Noise Marines to advance and charge, and because they're going on to an objective, and they have assault weapons, the Renegade Raiders, they are going to be able to shoot on the way in and still lend their OC6 to the objective dog pile here at the very end. So closing in for the kill, finishing off the last couple of Admech here. We do draw on the last turn, Display of Might, engage on all fronts. I mean, Display of Might is easy peasy, lemon squeezy, right? Just kill the guys in the middle, put my Rhinos in the middle. There we go. And then engage. We're going to be able to get that for 3/4 here, which will be nice. Actually, those Legionaries should have dumped out of that Rhino and stood in your bottom left corner for another 2 engage points, but completely forgot about them. So there we go. That will be the end of the game.
Yeah, wraps us up at 78-44. Nicely done.
Yeah, and we can talk about our armies. I feel like that's the more interesting part of this game because unfortunately, supply drop is still complete shit. Somehow I've played it like 3 times in the last week. I don't know how, but it just was a convergence of supply dropping. And then I watched like 2 Art of War games on supply drop. It was just a random week of supply drop for me. Yeah, this mission unfortunately still sucks ass.
Yeah.
Going second is going first. You score no primary if your opponent, unless it's like some kind of list archetype mismatch where you get bullied when you go second. You're at so much of a massive advantage on turn if you have the bottom of turn that your opponent's one and only recourse very often is just to throw their army at you turn 3 and cross their fingers that it works. And that's a cringe way to play Warhammer, in my opinion. It's just pigeonholes you a little bit too much. Yeah, I don't know, man.
I also really don't like that they put it on tipping point. Like it used to be on search, which is insane.
Yes.
Just like literally insane thing to do. I think it only makes sense on a hammer because Dawn isn't real, where there is actual parity, and only on boards where there isn't an asymmetry built in to create my expansion versus your expansion thing, right? If we're playing in a primary where or a mission where we all have to kind of dump in the middle anyway, it's not quite as catastrophic. But on a board on a deployment type where things are very designed to be standoffish, to basically say, never mind, you just have to assail an unassailable castle, like have fun with that, man. This is very silly.
And even then, the bottom of turn problem still exists, right?
Yeah.
There is a go second bias there was a massive one in Prior Nexus. I think there still probably is a little bit of one in chapter approved. This mission, it's accentuated to, in my opinion, unacceptable degree of like, this isn't appropriate for tournament play. Is it funny? Yeah, for sure. Disappearing objectives is funny. But if you really want to remove objectives from the board, play Scorched Earth, a very balanced and fun mission that again, has a go second advantage, but there's things you can still do if you go first instead of being like, oops,
Yeah, the
chance to
ability.
drop just dropped 30%.
Yeah, in Scorch, the idea of that, okay, I went first. I need to take a lot of board and get my burns off early and score my points then, and then not let my opponent take over too much in the end game. Much more interesting than here, where the counterplay is, guess I just have to table my opponent in four. Like, if you did that, you were going to win the game anyway.
Yeah,
So, like, you just have to play a risky line for no reason. It's very simple. Anyway, let's talk a little
it's
bit more
very,
about the actual armies because they're a lot of fun.
yeah.
Robots. They're so expensive. They're really funny. I see the appeal. If these are a thing that you really love playing and you can get reasonable results out of them, I will not tell you that you are some kind of a moron. I will simply say that's probably not the most efficient way to build an Admech list. Very funny. What did you think of the stat sheet?
So I can also see the appeal, the modularity of the buffs you could put on them. In some scenarios, like going to that T11, it's pretty darn big. Certainly made you resilient to my noise marines toward the end of the game here.
Yeah.
So I can see that giving them two different movement buffs in Haloscreed. Haloscreed feels like it's actually kind of the detachment for them. Is there any way to put them in both Protector and Conqueror?
Unfortunately, not. So the enhancement in Haloscreed that does that can't go on a Datasmith. That's going to Tech Priest.
Because what I was thinking was this actually might be like a meta choice for scenarios where you in metas where like 3 wound melee brawls are very common. Like if ever a lot of people are playing Bile and a lot of folks are playing Blood Angels, the Space Wolves gains popularity, just dudes running around. Having a gajillion attacks at AP 3 damage 3 twin linked actually really adds up. And then with Litany, the -1 to hit from Litany of the Electromancer or whatever the hell it is, from Protector Doctrine, you can actually stay alive against your opponent's counter rush pretty decently. But unfortunately, it sounds like there's no way to be both AP 3 from Conquer in melee, and I guess you could be in the defensive doctrine to receive the charge and then switch into the offensive doctrine. Either.
Yeah,
Oh no, because yours are beginning of battle round, right?
they are. So as long as
That
as long as I'm
actually,
going first, yeah,
yes, that actually could work to your advantage in certain scenarios.
totally.
Interesting.
Um, so yeah, that's an interesting version of it. You can have them in both doctrines in the other detachment. That's kind of the advantage of cohort Cybernetica is that will let you put them in both. But now you're never more than toughness 10. You're never getting the stealth. You're never getting the advance and charge. You're always getting the +2 move, which is kind of nice, but no advance and charge hurts.
You can have them be stealth. That's funny. That's Halo's Creed,
Yeah,
though.
that's Halo's. Yeah, because the four buffs are +2 move, advance and charge, +1 toughness and stealth. So just like I can give them both plus a swan, +2 move and advance charge, I can give them +1 toughness and stealth. I'm just like I'm T11, baby. I
I
think that if
love
yeah,
I love how many different things this unit has going on at any given time.
I think that if you want to make this unit work, you don't run the double fists, right? Because as
Okay.
cool as they are, like I think you just want to be mixed. Because like you said, this unit wants to do a little bit of everything. And if you go
Especially because you get
mixed, yeah,
assault when you're in Conqueror, right?
yep, you get assault when you're in Conqueror. And then also the other thing to remember is that not only do we also have the three ratchets, the three imperatives for the robots themselves. So they can be the +1 toughness, or they can be the +2 attacks in melee, or they get +2 attacks in shooting. So if your opponent says, "Hey, I'm going to sit back and you're not going to get to me," then I don't think you take the flamers if you're going the mixed because as funny as D6 +2 flamers are, if you're going to be in +2 shots range, you're not getting into combat, and if you're shooting flamers, you're getting into combat. So instead, you get a heavy phosphor blaster and a phosphor blaster. So each guy has 3 shots at 612 ignores cover and 3 shots at 611 ignores cover.
Wow, that's pretty good. What's the
Right. And
range?
then 24 for the 611, 36 for the 612.
Wow.
And
Okay.
again, you hand them +2 shots to each of those weapons, and they're both 5 shots now.
Jesus Christ.
So
Okay.
basically, in exchange for giving up the flamer and giving up the twin link tier, this unit suddenly puts out 40 shots. Half of them at 612, half of them at 611, both ignoring cover.
Removing your second fist loses twin linked and the D6 shot flamer.
So the basically they have two hands and an over or the shoulder. The over the shoulder is either the flamer or it's the three shots at 612 ignores cover.
Okay.
And then the fist, right? You can I each one can either be a fist or a gun. The gun is three shots at 611 ignores cover, and the fist is three attacks at or four attacks at 12-2-3. And then if you take double, you just get twin linked, either twin linked gun or twin linked fist.
The fact that you can one CP reroll once to hit and wound and pseudo get twin linked really makes me feel like the double fist is like kind of redundant as fuck.
It's super trolling. But yeah,
Okay.
it was what was requested, so I wanted to play it that way.
Sure.
But yeah, yours and it is really funny into Knights, right? Being T12, being strength 12 like is very funny. But 12, you want to use the stratagem on them anyway because Cawl wants to be giving them the battle line buff, so he can't be giving them reroll ones to hit. So like that's supposed to be the idea. Is Cawl gives them reroll ones to hit, they have twin link, they don't need the stratagem. But if you don't have enough battle line, as I didn't really hear, so you want Cawl to be your battle line, then you're going to use the real ones. So they're a funny unit. You probably I would play
Also,
them mixed. Yeah.
as much as losing out on reroll twos to wound and melee stinks in the big knights, you're also picking up one gajillion shots at strength 6, AP 2, and Conqueror, damage 1 and 2, ignore cover, which kind of makes big knights very sad.
Yes. Yes,
So
it
it
does.
probably comes out in the wash or even gets better for you, to be honest.
I I think you might be right there. So yeah, that would be my recommendation. If you want to play the robots, play them in Haloscreed. I don't think this build is especially terrible. I think you should probably play Canis instead of the Atrapos, as much fun as he is. But otherwise, like this build has kind of the right pieces to make it work. Um, but yeah, very funny. So interesting things you get to play around with. I will definitely bring these to an RTT at some point once I get some hobbied up, just because they're a lot of fun. But probably not going to see them at top table anytime soon. How are we feeling about Raiders, Lucas? This detachment still seems cracked every time I play against it.
The crazy thing is, in thinking about this game, I was thinking during the work today, I'm like, what am I going to talk about? What kind of cool Raiders stuff that I do? I didn't. I just kind of like applied good data sheets to the problem, and then Renegade Raiders always has like fallback,
Yeah,
things you can do.
you just became untaggable. Well, had assault everywhere and picked up efficiency boosts anytime I was on an objective.
Yeah, and
Like
then every once in a while, your opponent's on an objective, and you're like, Lamau, dude, you're tabled. It's kind of crazy. The danger with this detachment and what makes it so fun is your list building decisions are very, very open. It kind of reminds me of like Subterranean Assault type of stuff, where almost everything is viable because it's good in melee, it's good in shooting, it's fast, and you have AOC access. So like the whole breadth of things you can do, shooting, melee, tough, fast, it's all covered, and you have access to buffs. I think the danger with this detachment is you get a little bit too lost in the weeds of like cultists are good and rhinos are good and bikers are good and raptors are good, and all of a sudden you spent 800 points on chaff, and then some like six big knight donkey runs toward you and you can't kill them, you know? So there is a problem of if your opponent doesn't stand on the objectives, you fail to kill them. And I think that is going to be, especially because you don't have the raw stat buffs that Bile has, that's definitely going to be something that Renegade Raider players need to be very aware of while they're building their lists, right? Because if you throw in 800 points of scoring trash, some donkey is going to run you over three abominants and two despoilers. So what are we going to do about this? It's actually a little bit tough. The dedicated anti-tank in CSM is you have to invest in it, right? You can buy Abaddon, and it's something I've considered. It's like Abaddon with 5 chosen instead of the Bile Brick, because the Bile Brick is a little bit inconsistent into tough targets, and he can sit there and babysit the Predators and actually make them quite a bit more reliable. And now you have 4 rolls to hit. You have roll ones to win from a Disco Lord. Your Disco Lord is ingressing. He's got 4 rolls to hit and wound close to your opponent's DZ. Opponent is really disincentivized to screen because you can fight and fade with your Legionaries to kill their shitters, and they can't expose their tanks because your Predators will destroy them. So all of a sudden you've had them in, and then you get an aggressive ingress off with your Disco Lord. That's all great. But the problem is Abaddon's a huge investment, and he sits in your backfield until turn 4. And smart opponents will find ways to play around him because he's very slow. So there's all sorts of push-pull in that regard. You can also drop the Predators, but then again, you're weakening your matchup into like the tougher things like Vindicators and Big Knights and stuff like that. So there's a lot to play for. I know, like, I've talked with a lot of Renegade Raider players. Some people swear by ACDC, some people swear by Possessed, some people swear by the Bile Brick. There's basically the sky's the limit. You can do whatever works well for you. Um, and there's a lot. I was hoping that this game was going to be like, yeah, the Disco Lords are bosses. They went in and did like nothing, right? But that doesn't mean I'm
It
taking them out of
seems
my
so
list because
good
I
on
know
paper.
every once in a while you're going to get that perfect Disco Ingress off. He's going to go in, snipe something your opponent's objective, 1 CP fight and fade behind the wall, and your opponent's going to have a full health Disco Lord on their home objective on turn 3. Right? Like that's always something that could happen. That play line is open to you. So I don't think I'm taking either of them out. The Despots claim I didn't roll a 5-up to generate either CP, but I can still see the value of it. Like this attachment is CP hungry. And if you can pick up one or even get lucky and pick up 2 CP in the early game, that can really fuel your economy going into the mid game if you don't discard a card. So I do like that enhancement as well. The Scout one I've been really cooling off. I've been cooling off on the Scout enhancement. Like, look at this board, right? Like, where am I going to put a Disco Lord with Scout 6 that I wouldn't already get to on turn 1? Unless I'm doing like Tanner levels of Brain Dead, I'm going to run my Disco Lord directly toward you in a straight line on turn 1, and my opponent doesn't move block me in any capacity or measure my threat range. Like, the Scout 6 just doesn't do anything, unfortunately. I would like it a little more if you could combine on turn 1 maybe you take 3 Disco Lords. You bank on hitting the 5-up from your Despot's Claim, so that way you can auto advance 6 and advance in charge. Galaxy Brain. No, you're not doing that. You're not running the Scout 6 one. I'm sorry. 25 points is way too much for the worst of the 3 enhancements. But here we are.
Yeah,
So
I think
yeah,
he's already
I,
a pretty expensive piece. There's nothing he's trading up into that's your opponent's letting you charge top one. That's not real.
exactly. Yeah, I see. So in my opinion, the best part of this list is the Rhino. Like I've been saying, the Rhino with the 6 Noise Marines and the 5 Legionaries. It's so flexible. It's like 3 units. It's super cheap. The cracked part is you can fit Cypher in there as well, which is unhinged. Cypher in this detachment is pretty unhinged. Um, so it's just a really fast, aggressive piece that's really awesome. I love the Noise Marines. I think they're super fun. And yeah. Oh, what else did I want to say about that? It's I I would recommend that Renegade Raider players don't skimp out on their Legionaries. With so many toys, and good data sheets to run, it can be very tempting to be like, I'm gonna cut the Legionaries to fit more good stuff in. No, you spend 180 points, and your 2 Noise Marine Rhinos have a huge insurance buffer in the form of those Legionaries. Um, they're just so good for the points. They're your best grenade delivery system. They have 6 Power Fist attacks. Again, occasionally, sometimes they 1 CP advance and charge out a Rhino, and then 1 CP reroll to hit and wound and obliterate something way outside their weight class on your opponent's expansion. That has taken multiple of my opponents completely off guard. I'm like, yeah, man, take 7 saves at AP3 damage 2. Also, I have like 2 chain swords coming in after this with real to hit and wound. They're like, what the hell? Goodbye, my Predator. They're funny. They're funny as hell. So don't skip on your Legionnaires. Those guys are badasses.
Oh yeah. Alrighty. Well, good game as always, Lucas. This was a ton of fun, even if the scoring is a little bit silly. But I hope you all enjoyed so much. If you've got some thoughts on what we should be playing next, drop them in the comments below. If you want to keep the conversation going, check out our Discord, or you can get there from Patreon down the link below. If you'd like to play a game like this against one of us, or get some more one-on-one specialized attention, head over to stat-check.com/coaching to see what we can offer to you there. Or find the links down in the description. Check out our wonderful sponsors and our other shows on the network. All righty. Well, that being said and done, thanks for joining us. I've been Tyler.
Please don't make me play Warhorde.
That's Lucas. And we'll catch you next one. Take care, everyone.
Bye, gamers.